With the first pick in the 2015 NFL Draft, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers select Jameis Winston, quarterback, Florida State.
At this moment, the Buccaneers and their fans thought they had their quarterback for the next 15 years. Fast forward 4 years later and we're unsure of Jameis' future in Tampa as he enters the final year of his rookie deal. The first 2 years of the quote-unquote Jameis era looked pretty promising. In his rookie season, Winston threw for over 4,000 yards and 22 touchdowns, and the Bucs' record improved from 2-14 to 6-10 from over a year ago. Jameis also added 6 touchdowns on the ground, which is by far a career high. Jameis wasn't given too much to work with in his first season, but luckily he had the Bucs' 2014 first-round pick Mike Evans as his go-to receiver. Evans finished 2015 with over 1,200 yards receiving, and it looked like the Bucs had their quarterback-wide receiver duo for the next decade. After Week 11, the Bucs looked like they were going to be wild-card contenders. Winston just came off his best game in the NFL, tossing 5 touchdowns and 0 interceptions against the Eagles. But unfortunately, they went on to lose their next 5 out of 6 games and missing the playoffs at 6-10. Obviously, making the playoffs as a rookie would have been spectacular for Jameis, but the Bucs had what looked like a bright future ahead of them. Winston went on to make the 2015 Pro Bowl and broke rookie records for the Bucs franchise, including passing yards and touchdowns in a season as a rookie. Year 2 was the best season of the quote-unquote Jameis era so far. The Bucs won 9 games, only missing the playoffs due to a tiebreaker with the Detroit Lions. But still, Jameis took another leap and was still just 22 years old during that 2016 season. He played in all 16 games, passing for 4,090 yards, 28 passing touchdowns, and 18 interceptions. Jameis also led the Bucs to their first 5-game winning streak since the 2002 Super Bowl winning Buccaneers team. He also broke the Bucs franchise record for most passing yards and touchdowns in a single season. More impressively, he became the first player in NFL history to start their career with back-to-back seasons of 4,000 or more passing yards. So yes, the Bucs did miss the playoffs by a slim margin, but the future was still very bright. Their quarterback was still just 22 years old and their star receiver was still just 23. The Bucs also had some nice players like Quan Alexander, Levante David, and rookie Vernon Hargreaves on defense. Entering year 3 for Jameis, there was a lot of hype coming off a 9-7 season and their best players just entering their prime. Not only did they sign wide receiver Deshaun Jackson, but they also added weapons through the draft like O.J. Howard and Chris Godwin. Bucs fans were hyped, and 2017 seemed like the year that Jameis could enter the top 5 quarterback conversation. The season started pretty well. The Bucs were sitting at 2-1 entering Week 5, and Jameis played very well in both wins. What happened next was unexpected. Not only did the Bucs go on to lose their next 5 games, but Winston suffered an AC joint injury in Week 6 that he tried to play through, but ended up missing Weeks 10, 11, and 12. The Bucs did go 5-11 in 2017, but in the games that Jameis started, they were 3-10, which makes it look even worse for him. In his 13 games, Winston's stats were 3,504 passing yards, 19 passing touchdowns, and 11 interceptions, and a league-leading 15 fumbles and lost 7 of them. Winston's backup Ryan Fitzpatrick went 2-1 while Winston went 3-10, so everything that could go wrong in year 3 obviously did go wrong. He also had one of the worst pump-up speeches to begin a game when he asked his teammates if they want to eat a W and proceeded to stick his hand in his mouth. Year 4 didn't start for Jameis until Week 4, and it wasn't even due to injury. Winston was suspended the first 3 games of 2018 for inappropriate actions involving a female Uber driver. So Winston already started behind the 8 ball before stepping on the field in regular season action. It was honestly the last thing Winston needed coming off a disappointing 2017. To make matters worse, his backup Ryan Fitzpatrick came out on fire to start 2018. He beat the Saints in New Orleans in a game where the Saints were favored by 7 points, then followed that up with a victory over the defending Super Bowl champion Philadelphia Eagles. The Bucs lost by only 3 points to the Steelers on Monday Night Football, and they decided to stick with Fitzpatrick in Week 4 when Winston was eligible to play. The good news for Winston is that the Fitzmagic reached its end and he was benched at Chicago. Winston entered and didn't play much better, but he was ultimately named the starter once again. The Buccaneers quarterback position ended up being a game of musical chairs as Winston and Fitzpatrick kept getting benched after one another. Head coach Dirk Cutter made a total of 3 quarterback changes between weeks 4 and 11, but Winston did have some bright moments in 2018. He had performances like 345 yards, 4 touchdowns, and 1 interception in a high-scoring loss at Atlanta, 336 yards, a touchdown, no interception at Dallas, 249 yards, 2 touchdowns in a win versus Carolina, 312 yards, 2 touchdowns, and no picks in a win against San Fran. So it's not like Jameis's 2018 was completely a wash, but there were some positive takeaways as well. He finished the 2018 season with 2,992 passing yards, 19 touchdowns, and 14 interceptions, and he was still just 24 years old. So now we're in the present day. As we know, the Bucs fired head coach Dirk Cutter and brought in former Cardinals head coach Bruce Arians. I'm a huge Bruce Arians fan because not only is he a likable guy, but he has a good track record of making good things happen to an offense once he arrives. In 2012, the Arizona Cardinals finished dead last in total offense, but that was under Ken Whisenhunt as head coach. Once Arians arrived, here were the offensive finishes for the Cardinals. 2018 was 12th out of 32 teams, 2014 was 24th, but they did start 6-0 until quarterback Carson Palmer tore his ACL. Nobody's winning with Drew Stanton and Ryan Lindley, let's be real. 2015 they were first in the NFL in offense, 2016 9th out of 32, and 2017 once again they were 24th, but Palmer only played in 7 games after breaking his arm. As you can see, as long as Arians has a competent quarterback, his offenses tend to perform very well. If you include his time as a fill-in coach for Chuck Pagano in 2013, Arians has a head coaching record of 58-33, and some of those losses were with Blaine Gabbert, Drew Stanton, and Ryan Lindley. If Arians can't save Jameis's career, then I'm not sure anyone can. Sometimes quarterbacks are put in terrible situations with a defensive-minded head coach and an offensive coordinator that doesn't have a solid game plan. Jameis is going to have every opportunity to prove that he's the guy because there's no more Ryan Fitzpatrick behind him. The Bucs' current backup is Blaine Gabbert, and I don't think Arians wants to go down that road once again. Jameis also has a ton of talent around him in this offense. You have established wide receiver Mike Evans, who's had over 1,000 yards in each of his first 5 seasons, third-year wideout Chris Godwin, who many believe will break out this year, also third-year tight end O.J. Howard, who is a great talent but just needs to stay healthy, and even Cameron Brate, who's an underrated receiver, is still there in 2 tight end sets as well. The Bucs don't really have an established running back with Peyton Barber and Ronald Jones. Bruce Arians has finished top 5 in passing attempts as head coach for his offense twice already, and also top 10 in passing yards in 5 separate seasons as head coach and offensive coordinator. Jameis is only 3 years removed from a 4,000 yard and near 30 touchdown season. This is most likely his last chance to prove he's the quarterback of a franchise, but all the stars are aligning nicely for him to do so. He may make some awful decisions at times, but if good can outweigh the bad, you just have to deal with it. Quarterbacks like Brett Favre, Eli Manning, Johnny Unitas, and Dan Marino also had great careers that included many turnovers, so why can't Winston do the same? Many people have given up on Winston already, but I'm giving it one more year. If he can't do it with these weapons and this offensive-minded coach, then when will he ever? I believe after 2019 is over, we'll realize that Jameis is still pretty damn good and the Bucs will end up re-signing him, but we'll see what happens this season. Although he's a former first overall pick, Jameis is a nice underdog type of story for 2019 and I'll definitely be rooting for him. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Give me recommendations for future topics you'd be interested in discussing, and I'll talk to you next time.